So it's a bit of a long story, but it began when I started getting a lot of letters from people in prison. I was working as a journalist. I had done a whole series of pieces that related to the music industry and criminal justice. Long story short, I just was getting letters from people in prison, and one of them was an invitation from a Latino group in a maximum security prison called Chewangunk, and they were basically running educational programs, and they invited me inside. At one of those sessions, somebody came up to me who was a superintendent in a nearby facility, and he said, "Oh, you teach at John Jay. Why doesn't John Jay have any program in the prison?" And at that time, there were still very few college programs throughout the country, let alone in New York State, because of the 1994 bill, which eliminated financial aid for incarcerated students and decimated the college program landscape throughout the country. So I just kept going back, and I'd bring other professors and other just friends, people, anyone who would go with me. And that led to the birth of the Prison to College Pipeline.
Sadly, there are a lot of people who've been in prison for decades whom still don't even understand why they are incarcerated, because they've always just been taught to regurgitate what they see, what is, as opposed to reimagining. I feel as all people should be able to at least obtain some type of education in pursuit of bettering themselves and having social mobility in the context of the society we live in.
Being a part of the college experience within the prison system, it's great because it helps you to normalize yourself in an abnormal environment, as opposed to allowing myself to be caught up in prison politics over here doing essays and math problems in order to make a better situation for myself once I'm released.
Education allows you to explore other things that you wouldn't actually be exposed to, especially in the prison environment. Most of the individuals who actually are in prison are limited to the resources that's in the library or what the prison allows to come in to read. So when you have programs like the Prison to College Pipeline, to be able to bring other things and other ideas in, it allows you to explore a little bit more and dig deeper into yourself, because it's a journey. People change from day to day, from minute to minute. I don't think I was the same person yesterday.
So I met Hank. I met Hank at the Schomburg Center, actually. I went to a talk, and he was part of a panel. And afterward, we started chatting. And so we organized it, and he came in over the summer and taught a guest class, which was great. Hank's creative process is very rigorous. He would always question and come back and say, "Oh, but maybe, and maybe." And so we went through a bunch of different ideas, and nothing was quite right. And then I remember we were in my apartment one night trying to brainstorm, and I opened my closet door, and there was a stack of papers like this high. And he said, "What is that?" So I said, "That's just like writing from prison." And he seized upon it and was like, "Let's go through it." And he started looking at it, and he started laying it out on the floor and saying, "This is it. This is exactly what we need to put up. Let's just wallpaper the space. This says it all."
When Hank spoke to us about this ongoing project, when he asked us to think about re-envisioning it as a traveling exhibition that might go outside, we were honored and thrilled to participate any way we could. Physically, it's composed of 3 cellular spaces that are 6 feet by 9 feet in dimension, which roughly reference the average individual cell size. In prison cells, it's not uncommon to find layers of writing on top of writing on top of writing. It can start to feel like time has stopped, and the only way of indicating that time is passing is to make marks. That led us to this notion of building the walls out of layers of writing.
it really is a window into an aspect of our society that most people don't have any access to. It does frame the voices of the many people who are in prison, but it also is open-ended. There isn't a predictable and simple kind of way to deduce it. It really is as expansive as the writing of the people in it and their own creativity and their own sense of self and the viewer's willingness to engage. It's not an installation that requires you to read every page and every minute. It's just saying, engage. And if you read one line or two lines, or you read 5 pages, or you spend an hour and sit on the floor, as I've seen people do, people can enter and exit at their own point.
A person still gets to take away something with them every time they come and visit it. They don't have anything that's tangible, but something that, that's beyond tangible.
These pieces have been written by people who I've met all across the world. Honestly, these are our leaders. They have the brightest ideas in the world because they're not subjugated to getting the bills paid and running for the train. They're in isolated places where they're thinking about things critically down to the T.
Just as vast as there are people in society is the same vastness that you'll find within the prison system. All walks of life.
We need to be utilizing their talents in better ways, and the writing on the wall is just a stroke on the brush of the things in which they can actually paint. Yeah, and the proximity, right? The installation allows people to actually have some type of proximity to the issue at hand. Because sadly, a lot of society are not exposed to the ways in which mass incarceration has decimated communities. This is why it's in a public space. And this is why we're doing the tour, so that people can engage in the space and we can have dialogue and conversation, and even talk about the stigmatization that comes along with as a result of. As human beings, we need to recognize that the worst thing that you can possibly do to a human being is incapacitate them.
If people are able to understand that prisons do not make us safer as a world, as a community, then we are moving in the right direction. And then we activate that into policy.
Art generally is something that actually connects people, is a medium that supersedes language. You walk by people every day. Your interactions with people are what make the world go round. When you don't have those interactions, what is life about? What is life about? It becomes a little bit meaningless.
To show them the way. No one sees, do all the same. Great leader, your time is now. I check out well the situation. Destruction is on the land. Confusion, aggravation, disaster now, yes, it's spreading all over.